Cool. All right. So last week, not during the semester, during the class, but I think on Friday, I sent out a link to the Discord about joining a team that I've created on Replit. For everybody that doesn't know or wasn't here last week, we're using Replit.com to basically work as our environment while writing JavaScript. I sent out an invitation to the Discord, like I said, and this way you can work in this environment. You can also work in your own Replit environment, but I can actually check what you're doing, and if you have a problem, it's easier to share code like this, right? So I'm gonna write in my own environment, which I call JavaScript, JavaScript basics, and we're gonna go over some of the stuff that we went over last week. That's weird. Okay. So last week we went over a couple of simple data types like strings, which is displayed like this. I'll just leave it up. Numbers, which are just numbers, floats, any type of anything you would consider a number, which will be divided into different subsets in other programming languages. It's just considered number in JavaScript. We also had booleans, which are true and false values. And then we also had collections of items which were contained in an array, which you can do. All right, cool. We also had one last one called an object, which is key value pairs like this. Cool. All right, so we have a couple different data types, and I want to be able to reuse some of these data types over and over again. I'm just going through this real quickly. I'm sorry if I'm going fast. I will be able to save these data types to a variable with certain keywords like var, let, and const, and we kind of went over what each one does, and they can pretty much be used semi-interchangeably, but for the most part, we're going to try to use const and let. So if I wanted to save my name to the variable, and then the value of the variable would be set on the other side of the equal sign, which I would save to Joshua, right? So if I wanted to see that that is correctly saved, I use a console log and I run my Replit, and Joshua is printed to the console. Okay. We can also use this with numbers. So I'm just gonna do 29 real quick. My age. Cool. So we can see that variables can be set, they can be reset. This is a constant. Yeah. Usually they can be reset, but I guess in this instance, it takes const as a constant, which you should take it as a constant. It's very important that we understand the difference between const and let is something that can be interchanged. Constant we see as a constant variable. We don't want to really mess with it too much. Okay. We went over a couple different the creation of objects, which I kind of showed you before, and I just really want to go over maybe just accessing those objects real quick. So I'm going to create an object named person and set it to an object, and I'm going to set the name equal to Joshua and the last name right? And then if I want to console.log person dot name, this is the way I would access each one of these key value pairs. All right, cool. So now that we're kind of on the same page, I kind of want to start moving forward. We also learned about a couple operations and creation of a for loop. I'll do creation of a for loop real quick, just so we remember everything. So a for loop is a block of code with three distinct values within its header. All right. 5 plus and say console.log I, and as long as we're within these parameters, we'll be adding. So we'll go through these headers real quick. So we're establishing that I is equal to 0. I has to be less than 5, and I gets added to every single iteration, right? So then I'm going to console log I, and it should print 0 through 4, because as soon as it hits 5, we're outside of these parameters, and then the for loop is canceled, right? And this way we can run blocks of code over and over and over again, as long as they stay within inside this parameter or these parameters. All right. So this week I kind of want to go over a couple different things. Number one will be functions. Right. So a function kind of sits inside that same area where we want to be able to reuse code. We might not want to run it over and over and over again, but we want to be able to use it very easily, very quickly. So I'm going to create a function called hello, right? Very simple. And so we have a couple of things going on here. We obviously have this function keyword, we have the name of the function, and then we have this parentheses, right? These parentheses hold our parameters for the function. So if we need to use things inside of our function, we want to insert them here. So let's say I need a first name, I need a last name, right? And then that should be it for right now. All right, and then I want to console.log a string that says hello. I say plus first name plus space plus last. All right. So now I have a function that takes two strings, right, adds them together, and returns a. Well, it doesn't really return anything. It prints to the console this string, right? So if I went hello, and then provided my name, Joshua, and Mordino, and I ran this function, it will fire the function above. All right. Does anybody have any questions about this before I move any further. It's kind of straightforward. You know, we're just using the function keyword to declare a function. We're giving it two parameters, which we can use in the body of the function, which is laid out by these two curly brackets. All right. So let's make a function called sum. All right. Now, what does sum take? What if we're going to add numbers? What should we provide to our sum function? Numbers, right? So I'm going to say A and B. So those are going to stand up for our parameters, correct? And I want to, well, how would I add A and B? Like, can anybody give me the code that I'd have to write between this function code block, right, like right here, to make this function, valid? Yep, awesome. A plus B, because we're taking the parameters and we're adding them together, right? One extra thing I want to write here is return. So when I write return in a function, this is what the function will spit out, all right? Now, I know we've been used to using console.log, but the console just prints out to the console. It doesn't actually return anything. So I can't use the values that are returned to the console. So I want to return a value instead. So when I say return, I'm saying the value of A and the value of B is going to be returned by this function, which will be whatever we put together. So if I say sum, let's keep it simple, 5 and 10, right? And I run this, nothing will happen inside the console technically, just because, there's nothing to show. But now if I said console.log and I wrap this in a set of parentheses, if I save this to another value. Sorry about that. My shell is being very laggy right now. Let me try to save this real quick. Let me just grab all this code and open up a separate replit. Maybe because everybody's using it, the replit's actually a little slow. There we go, 15. I don't know what's going on with this replit over here. Maybe because everybody's using it, it's acting like kind of laggy, but all right, this is fine. All right, cool. So also just try to do this instead. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so we're not console.logging the value of A plus B. We're console.logging the return value of the sum. All right, and we're providing two different numbers to the sum, and whatever we return from that will be console.log. I know that's a little bit confusing, but it's kind of important to realize the difference between printing something and returning something, right? So we have to understand that functions are kind of going to be a really big deal when writing code. If we want to rewrite, if we want to have reusable code, we should write functions instead of rewriting code over and over and over again. We want to make our jobs as easy as possible, right? So there is a newer way to write functions in JavaScript. I'm going to go over it really quickly. It's not important that you understand it or just even remember it, because you can always write functions in this way, all right? But if I want to write a subtract function, right? And in this form, this is the exact same thing. Not the exact same thing. It's a subtraction method, but this is the exact same. Is exactly the same as a function as above. And sorry, I'm just trying to type and write at the same time. Think at the same time. So let me go over this real quick. So we're setting a variable equal to an anonymous function. This is a function equal to no name, with no name technically. All right, and we're using this pointer syntax to say this is the return statement from that value. So if I was to write, if I was to write a subtract, this and this are the same thing. They can be called in the exact same way, and this is just kind of a cleaner syntax. You don't have to remember this. There will always be this syntax around. I just wanted to provide it to you so you knew. All right. Okay. So now that we know that we can write functions, which are repeatable lines of code, we can go back to objects and give objects functions, which is kind of a weird idea. So I'm going to create another object, right? Similar to the one that we just created. And then I'm going to add a I'm going to add a method. Sorry, just I'm going to add a method to my object. All right, and this is going to make it so that I can basically use this method, but only in this instance, pretty much. So I can create a function with the key value pair of hello, right? And I can access anything within this function, within this object, right? So I want to give us back a hello, depending on this person, right? So I want to say hello, right? Space. And like our other functions, we can access parts of this object, right? So I'm saying this dot name plus a space plus this dot last. All right. Cool. And then I can access that like we accessed other parts of our object. And I can run this really easily. And hello, Joshua Mordino. All right. So this is kind of a really cool functionality that just is within this person. All right. And I kind of want to go over any of this before going forward, because the next thing we're going to do is learn how to create a blueprint for this. Because let's say, hypothetically, you know, person one, I wanted to add different people to my program, right? So sorry, Ryan, to always be picking on you. I'm just gonna, oh, Ryan Kim. And I'm gonna say hello, person one. Hello, Ryan Kim. All right. This is kind of a not really an efficient way to write our code, right? Because every time we need to create a new person, there's all this boilerplate that has to go along with it. So last semester we talked about creating classes, and a class is kind of a boilerplate for an object. All right. So today I got a little bit of inspiration from Mario last semester, last class, even though he's not here. He talked about creating a Pokemon, program, but I want to create kind of a dynamic Pokemon program where I only have to create one object. I can maybe store all those objects in an array, and that would be my I don't know, my group. I forgot what it was called, but you know, we will build this out together, and we'll see, you know, what are the constraints behind doing this. All right. So first of all, what properties does a Pokemon have? Luckily, I'm going to pull up the Pokemon API. So I can look up any Pokemon based on this API, and it will give me all their, yeah, 100% name. Does anyone have any Pokemon names that they, let's say Charmander? Okay, so I'm using this Pokemon API. It's kind of a cool little project that somebody built, and it stores all the information about a Pokemon. All right, and I'm gonna scroll back up. I'm gonna close some of this stuff. So we have species name is Charmander, right? Has sprites that are attached to it. We have a weight that's attached to it. Fire type, you know, these are all really important stuff that we want to encapsulate within our type or within our class, right? So let's type out some notes for ourselves, right? So we're gonna do double backslash, and then we're gonna say Pokemon traits, and then I'm gonna say name, type, weight, and let's say HP, because those are kind of the important parts. All right. So instead of creating an object with all of these properties, we're going to create a class instead. All right. And a class is a boilerplate for an object. All right. And I'm going to show you exactly how we can use these to create multiple objects very easily. Right. So I'm going to create a class named Pokemon, and then place a curly bracket right after it. All right. And every time a Pokemon is created, we want a function basically to be called to create these properties, right? So in a class, we have something called a constructor. And the constructor will take properties and place them in their appropriate places. So we want to, when we create a Pokemon, we need a name, we need a type, we need a weight, and we need HP. Actually, maybe we should do level instead, and then we'll create a function to give it its HP. Right? Right? So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to create a curly bracket after this, and this is a code block. This is a function that will run every time we create a new object. All right. So what I'm going to say is this dot name is equal to name, right? This dot type is equal to type. This dot weight is equal to weight. This dot level is equal to level. And let's say this dot HP is equal to level times I don't know, 15. That's about right, right? Okay. This is cool. Let's see how it works, and then we'll keep adding to it about that. All right. So I want to create a new Pokemon, and I'm gonna say let's equal new Pokemon, right? And then we can see that it takes all of these parameters, right? So I'm gonna say Charmander. It's a fire type. What's that coffee? It's a fire type. Its weight will be 65 pounds, and its level is 5. Okay. So I can create this. Nothing's gonna really happen. Nothing will really happen, but what we can do is say Charmander dot name, and we should get Charmander to the console if this doesn't lag. Not sure what's going on. Maybe people are on the. Oh, I need to print it to the console. Sorry. Oh, sorry, I got confused with Python. Console.log to the console. I don't know why this keeps lagging out. I'm gonna try to save this. One second, guys. I'm sorry about this. No. Charmander. I don't know. For some reason, my Replit is kind of acting a little slow, but we can go over the code right now. We'll walk through it real quick. Okay. So right here I have, like we've gone over, this is my class. This is my constructor. When my constructor is called down here, it takes all the values and inputs them into the proper place. Not want that. Okay. So I'm creating a new Pokemon with his name as Charmander, or the type actually the species as Charmander, the type as fire, the weight as 65, and the level as 5. And now this Charmander is technically, it's technically not alive, but it's been created. All right. And we can see that it has properties that we can access. So does anyone have an idea about a function that maybe we can create based on this this Pokemon's behavior, or something that might happen to it? So I don't know if you guys played Pokemon growing up. I sure did. And there's a couple things that can happen. You can have a battle, and in that battle we will take hits, right? And then we can also, after the battle, we can heal. All right. So let's create a function called damage, right? Not this function. Image. Okay, so we're gonna create a function called damage, and we need to access our HP, right? And we need to lower it by an amount. Does anybody know how we would do this? Remember, this damage function is within this class, so every Pokemon will have access to it. So we can say this HP minus equals minus equals 10. 5. That's kind of extreme. All right, and then we also want a heal function. And I know that we're not writing the function keyword. That's only because these live within inside of this Pokemon class. Try not to get too confused by it. I want to reset the HP to equal this dot level times 15, like we did up here, which will equal to 100%. Okay, so I'm going to create a couple different events. And I'm going to say Charmander dot damage, Charmander dot damage, Charmander dot heal. So we should be able to see what's going on. So we can see that we have the initial amount of HP that Charmander has, which is 75, right? We're going to call the damage function or method on it, and 5 is going to be taken away from it. And then we're console logging the HP so we can see it in the console. Then another damage call is being applied, right? So we're at 65, and then we are calling a dot heal function, which will put us back to the original 75. Does that make sense to everybody? Am I going a little bit fast? Is everybody on par with me? Also, all this code will be on the Replit, and I can also maybe put it inside of the GitHub repository. Okay, cool. So now let's create one more class. All right. And let's call it Pokemon Trainer. I'm going to just delete all this stuff. Right. I'm going to create a new class up here called Pokemon Trainer. All right. Now, does anybody have any ideas what kind of properties Pokemon Trainer could have? Okay, so a Pokemon Trainer will have a name, an age, and we can set those right here with .name equals name, and this .age equals age. But we also, have other things that are not going to be initially given. Because when a person is born, they're not given certain things. So let's say items. And what could items be? because we're implying that there's more than one item, right? So whenever I have a collection, what would I want to use? Whenever we have a collection, we want to use an array, right? And I also want to create a Pokemon Pokemon roster collection, right? And these are both going to be empty because every Pokemon trainer is not going to have a set amount of items that are given to them when you start. But maybe we can write functions that will add to this, all right? So I'm going to write a function called caught Pokemon, which will take a Pokemon as a parameter, right? And I will say this dot Pokemon roster dot what? Does anybody remember how we add to an array? So arrays have built-in methods, just like the methods that we're building in right here, you know? They're not exactly the same names, but they have methods that are already attached to them. So the array that of my Pokemon monster has a dot push pre-built into it. And I want to push the Pokemon that is given to this function to my Pokemon array, to my Pokemon roster array. And then I want to console.log you caught a Pokemon dot name. Okay. So let's create a new Pokemon trainer. Does anybody know how I would do that? Yeah, I'll name the variable, so there's no pressure. Call it Joshua. New Pokemon. Oh, yeah, Pokemon trainer. Right, and this class takes two parameters. What are those parameters? Takes name. Yep, name and age. So now I have an instance of this Pokemon trainer and a Pokemon, right? Now, if I wanted to catch this Pokemon that I just created, how would I do it? I'll give you a little hints. I'll say Joshua, because I'm the Pokemon trainer. I'm going to use what? So I should be able to use my caught Pokemon function that I created, and I can pass Charmander in there. Yep. Let's see what happens. You caught a Charmander. And I can create, obviously I can create an infinite amount of Pokemon, an infinite amount of Pokemon trainers, and I can have all different rosters that are contained just with that Pokemon and that Pokemon trainer. This kind of makes sense to everybody. I know there's a lot of things going on over here. Cool. And this is called object-oriented programming. This is not really the way that a lot of programming, like new programming languages, are being taught, unfortunately. But this is kind of like the one of the most important subjects in programming to really encapsulate a structure and to reuse it over and over again. All right. I wanted to. I don't know if I have enough time. 10 minutes left. I want to use this API to grab random Pokemon and then be able to create instances of them. But I think that might be a little too much for today. This would be a really good project for anybody who's been in the coding club for, maybe longer than a semester, or if you have a little more experience with programming. Understanding how to use APIs is a really important concept. I don't know if that will be, we have enough time to go over it for today, maybe next class. I want to maybe create one more class. One more class. And I would like for maybe you guys to help me out build this one, just so that I have a little more confidence, that we grasp this subject. So I'm going to add a new function to my Pokemon trainer, and I'm going to say found item. All right. And all I'm going to do is kind of do something similar to what I did up here. I'm just going to add it to my items. Okay, but we don't have an item class yet, right? Can we help me make an item class real quick? So what's our first step of making a class? Class, awesome. And I'm going to call it item. All right, keep it simple. Cool. Now we need to write another keyword, which is technically a function that gets called every time the item will be constructed. Does anybody know what that is? It's a constructor, right? And our constructor needs to take certain parameters to instantiate within this item, right? So I'm just gonna say name and I'm gonna say description, right? Now, how would I assign name and description within this constructor function? I could say this dot name equals name, and this dot description equals description. All right. And now if I wanted to create a new item, how would I create a new item using the format that we've used in the past? Yes, very good, Sabrina. So I'm going to create a new item. I want to say I found a moonstone, and we'll set it to a new item, and we'll give the name of moonstone. And description will be used for stone. Okay, cool. Now, let's say that the Joshua Pokemon trainer finds this item. How would we add it to our items array or my book bag? Let's say I'm walking down the street and I find it on the floor and I want to add it to my book bag. How would I add this moonstone that I just found to my book bag? I could use push, but if we look down here, I've already created a function that uses push, right? So I created a function before I created that class item, It takes an item and it takes this dot items, which is our array of items, and it pushes, very good though, it pushes that new item to our book bag, our items array. So I can come down here after I created my Joshua trainer, say Joshua that found, what is it, found item? Yeah, found item. And then I can say moonstone, right? Add it in, found a moonstone. Okay. I know this seems like a lot of work for a little bit of payoff, but you got to understand that at this point, I can create an infinite amount of items. I can create an infinite amount of Pokemon trainers and Pokemon, and I can create a whole game just based off these, items or these classes, right? I probably have to tweak it a little bit to make it work in the console, and maybe we can create a turn-based type game. Would you guys be interested in something like that? Like technically, we could probably do a Pokemon battle between two people. Cool. So in order, we can't do that today. We might have to do it probably next week, or maybe I can do a course or a thing on the weekend, and I can put it on Twitch. But what are the steps that we'd have to take to do like a turn-based fighting game? So we probably have to revamp this damage, um, function, right? We probably have to add a little bit of randomness to it, but also different Pokemon have different attacks, and at that point in time, we're gonna probably have to use the Pokemon API to get some of this information to create better Pokemon. All right. But we need to really think about the components that go into that game, right? So we're gonna need two Pokemon. We're gonna need a list of 4 attacks. So we can create a array up here called attacks, and it'll be an empty array. And then we might need to create another class called attack and have a constructor of name, accuracy, damage, right? And then we would assign this dot name this dot ACC, this dot image equal to damage. And then each Pokemon would have a collection of attacks in this attacks array. All right. So it can get a little bit fairly complex, and there's going to be a little bit of thinking behind it, but that's kind of programming in itself. We kind of need to think about what we're doing and then proceed. We can't just blindly code. It gets very hard to think and code at this exact same time. But sometimes you need to sit down, map things out, and then you can move forward from that point in time. So I will map out a game, maybe next class or maybe this weekend. We will build something out. Are we on spring break next week, Vanessa? I'm not sure.
Actually, we're here next week, the 13th.
The 13th. Oh, yes, we're on the 14th, yeah?
Spring break is like starts on the 15th.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so next week maybe we'll work on building a turn-based game. It's gonna be very simple. It's gonna be within the console, but we could probably figure something out and have something working by that time. I'm gonna keep this structure right here. I'm going to copy it over to my team. Try not to edit this code. Cool. Let's see if this runs. Cool. So this is in the teams folder. QCC Coding Club's team. It's in the JavaScript basics. You can go look at it. Try not to edit it too much. Play around with it. You know what? I already got a copy of it someplace else. Play around with it all you want. You can also copy it and paste it inside your own replit. This is Mario's. You can easily create one right here, I think. Yeah. And put your name on it and play around with it. That's all the time I kind of have for this week. Does anybody want to share some projects they're working on? Oh, Sabrina, I'll add you right now. See if I can just add team members. I only have 2 spots left. I will try to upgrade my membership maybe, or maybe I'll create another team. I only can have 10. You just got to click on this link above, and you'll be able to join the team. We're at 10. Boom, right there. Yep. If you want to still join, I can maybe create another replit, or maybe I can see about upgrading. I can see how much it costs, and maybe we can go to like a pro membership or a educational. Okay, I can look into that, and we can see what that's all about. Please feel free to play around with it, or just copy and paste it, put it into your own replit. Next week, I'm going to want to try to use, there's this file right here, this fetch.js, which I can use to, let's see, just gonna comment some of this stuff out. I can grab data from the Pokemon API that we talked about, which is right here. I'm just going to so this is all the data from the Pokemon API. We can use this to create a kind of more accurate version of our Pokemon. I'm just going to comment this above right here, and this way we can have accurately scaled Pokemon according to the actual statistics. and it will make creating some of these moves a little more balanced and more realistic. Oops, did not want to do that. There we go. I'm just going to uncomment this. Cool. All right, so have fun with this, play around with it, it's all yours. That being said, I'm kind of running out of time here. Does anybody want to share any projects, ask any questions? I'm always open to ask me anything about work, about creating projects, about finding inspiration. I'm really here. Yeah, Sabrina, of course you can share something. Go ahead. Do you need permission to share? Okay, Gabe. Hopefully I see you next week. Let me know how any of your projects go. Sabrina, do you need permission to share? Cool. Okay, so some C++. Okay. Cool. That's cool. Oh, wow. So you're moving the treasure around, or are you trying to search for the treasure in this game? That's really, really cool. How did you create the map itself, Sabrina? Columns. This is really cool. It's a nice little terminal app. It's kind of exactly what we'll be building next week. You did a really good job. Like nice clean code. You did a really, really good job. Thank you so much for sharing, Sabrina. You did a really good job on that project. It's really important to build projects, guys. Remember, it's the way you think outside the box. It's the way you creatively problem solve. You won't get. You could probably ask Sabrina or anybody else that create a project in this class. You won't get stumped the same way unless you start building a project and it's not working You need to figure out how it needs to work. It's just the way you need to open up your brain a little bit in a way that's a little not. It's creative and is, it's logical. It's everything put together. I really suggest everybody to build, for them to build projects. It really is it's a great opportunity to learn more about programming. Does anybody else have any projects they want to share? Okay, so if that's all for today, I'm gonna probably get back to work. I really appreciate everybody for coming. Always, you can hit me up